Once upon a time, we measured the distance in darkness. What is spoken will eventually come to light. Water captures your reflection. I capture human interactions. Create human-like conversational dialogue to help you write a blog, to cut down hours of prep that you log. I'm an engineer in marble. Who better to break down the Constitution? Who better to show and explain the revolution? Who better to uncover the truth? Montana, Uncle Rico, Gerry, Rod. We are a reflection of our country's scars. The Doneson Podcast. Show them who we are.
You know I love you so. We're back, we're here. Let the music take control. The season's here. In case you didn't know, we're glad you're here. I hope you like the show. For many years. Let's start the show.
I have friends that I might need to change, right?
Oh, man, that happens all through life.
Yeah. Now, I have a group of friends that have been great to me throughout the years, you know? And I told them I had a job at Panera Bread, and they robbed it. And they robbed it, and when I went to go see them, they said, Rod, we thought this place had a lot of bread. You know? All right. So, thank you for tuning into the Doneson Podcast, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, I took a job as an anchor on the evening news, and I hope you enjoy. Check it out. Rabbit News, y'all.
All right.
Good evening. Thank you for tuning in to Rabbit News. And tonight, the war in Ukraine. Congress has approved $200 million of shipment in military supplies. But for some reason, when those supplies got there, they were wrong. There were 200,000 pillows, 200,000 blankets, 200,000 Bubblicious gums, and 200,000 underoos. But Congress has made the mistake, and they said they will send the right equipment. Another in breaking news of the day, the housing market is going down. So that means that you will have neighbors that you might necessarily want to live next to, because everybody can afford a house now. Ray Ray and Susie Q and Ronald James will be your next door neighbor very soon. Another thing in Rabbit News is there's been a heat wave throughout the South, as well as there's been a cold front that could create tornadoes. We want you and your loved ones to be on the lookout. These tornadoes are incredibly strong. And if you don't have a basement, your ass out. Thank you for tuning in to Rabbit News. Now it's time for What's Cooking in Your City?
Salut mes amis! Grilled Creole chicken and okra. Let's begin with the main ingredients. 1/2 pound of boneless, skinless chicken thighs, cut into 2-inch pieces. 12 ounces of smoked andouille sausage, cut into 1-inch thick pieces. 1 pint of grape tomatoes. Some of you, when you hear or see the word grape, you instantly think about grape Kool-Aid. Now later, grape ape. We need to stay focused now. Add 12 ounces of finger-sized fresh okra. Stems trimmed, about 4 cups. Some of your fingers are way too thick, but that's a judgment call. 1 large sweet onion, about 12 ounces, cut into 1/4 inch thick rings. If the onions make you cry, tears ain't hurt nobody. Teardrops add a little flavor to the dish. 1 medium-sized poblano chile or green bell pepper, cut into 1-inch squares. 1 tablespoon of Creole or Cajun seasoning, divided. 12 10 each of metal skewers. If your assise is flat broke, you can use steak. 4 scallions, white and pale green parts only, chopped. Hot sauce, ooh la la, optional. For those in zip code 15929, you can use leftover ketchup in your refrigerator. Directions. Place chicken on grate over hostess part of grill. Arrange sausage over slightly cooler heat. Arrange onions and skewered vegetables at the edges of the grill. Grill uncovered, turning once or twice, until chicken juices run clear and chicken is done. Oh, see you next week, where we'll be talking about another amazing dish. Voila!
All right, now, could we say that the commander-in-chief of a family is a main man or sometimes a woman?
Yeah, of course, sometimes a woman.
The power of the executive branch is vested in the President of the United States. Now, the President is responsible for implementing and enforcing the laws written by Congress, and to that end, appoints the heads of the federal agencies, including the cabinet. That's time for Rapid Fire!
Boom.
Who appointed Thurgood Marshall to the Supreme Court, the first black justice?
John Fitzgerald Kennedy.
What executive order authorized the forced relocation of Japanese Americans and Japanese nationals living on the West Coast?
1966.
That's right. The president can be impeached and removed from office by...
Congress.
Name the presidential cabinet position.
Secretary of Labor.
That's right, y'all. Now, this season, we're going to get into the executive branch, right? The President of the United States is in control of the executive branch. The President is elected to a 4-year term and can serve a maximum of 2 terms. The President has a lot of power, including the power to veto laws passed by Congress, to appoint judges and other officials, and to issue executive orders. Gerry.
Just in case somebody out here doesn't know what veto means, a veto can be used to prevent a bill from becoming law or to force the legislator to make changes to the bill. The president has the power to veto bills by returning it to Congress with his objections. If 2/3 of both houses of Congress vote to override the veto, the bill becomes law.
That is right, Gerry. Now, the executive orders are not laws, but they have the force of law when they are issued in accordance with the law. Executive orders are a powerful tool that the presidents can use to shape the direction of the federal government. The first executive order was issued by George Washington in 1789. Since then, President has issued thousands of executive orders. Some of the most famous executive orders include the Emancipation Proclamation, issued by Abraham Lincoln in 1863. The Emancipation Proclamation declared that all slaves in the Confederate States were free, sometimes. Executive Order 9066, issued by Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1942. Executive Order 9066 authorized the forced relocation of Japanese American and Japanese nationals living on the West Coast. Executive Order 11246, issued by John F. Kennedy in 1961. Executive Order 11246 prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin in employment. As we well know, the president is the head of the executive branch and has a great deal of power. However, the executive branch is not above the law. The president can be impeached and removed from office by Congress. There has been 3 presidents who have been impeached by the House of Representatives. Andrew Johnson, Bill Clinton, and
Come on, you know Al.
That's right. None of them were convicted by the Senate and removed from office. Bill Clinton was impeached in 1998 for perjury and obstruction of justice in connection with a Monica Lewinsky scandal.
Go, Bill, go.
Go, Bill, go. I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill.
You getting what I'm due.
Lord, I am.
Donald Trump was impeached twice.
Women's rights, they say.
Damn. In 2019 and 2021. Damn. This is all in 4 years. That's why I'm not good at relationships when it comes to 4 years, because I get caught lying twice.
You're done.
I'm done.
You're done, son.
I'm done, son. Please, Roger, don't lie to me again. I want Mary Hartman. The first impeachment was for the abuse of power and obstruction of Congress in connection with his dealings with Ukraine. The second impeachment was for incitement of insurrection in connection with the January 6, 2021 attack on the United States Capitol. Trump was acquitted by the Senate on both charges. Okay, you can get off. Impeachments is a serious constitutional process that can be used to remove a president from office. However, if it is a political process, an outcome is ultimately determined by the Senate. Gerry, which impeachment you feel is more egregious?
I'm gonna go with Trump because I don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind. R. Kelly 1994.
I'm about to go.
The executive branch has played a major role in shaping the United States. The president has used the power of the executive branch to address a wide range of issues. All right, now the president's cabinets of the executive branch. The cabinet was not created by the Constitution, but by George Washington, who appointed his first cabinet in 1789. The cabinet is not mentioned in the Constitution, but it has become an important part of the American system of government. The cabinet is not a law-making body, but it does advise the president on a wide range of issues, including foreign policy, national security, and the economy. The cabinet is not a permanent body. The president can change the cabinet at any time. However, the president usually keeps the same cabinet members for the duration of his or her terms. Gerry.
They should use this in marriages. Not getting a divorce, baby. Just changing you out for another broad.
Y'all laughing a little
That's
too
my
hard.
cousin right there.
Yeah, y'all laughing a little too hard.
Now, in the current cabinet of the United States is follows, right? You have the vice president, secretary of state, secretary of treasury, secretary of defense, attorney general, secretary of interior, secretary of agriculture, secretary of commerce, secretary of labor, secretary of health and human services, secretary of housing and urban development, secretary of transportation, secretary of energy, secretary of education, secretary of veterans affairs, secretary of homeland security. Now, Montana, which one of these cabinets would you want to serve in?
Say it again, name like 25.
Vice President, Secretary of State, Treasurer, Defense, Attorney General, Interior, Agriculture, Commerce, Labor, Human Services.
Stop there. I've been watching SWAT on Netflix lately. I like to be in the Department of Defense.
Department of Defense? Oh, why are you picking Department of Defense? I like you already.
I like to fight, you know.
You like to fight? I can see Montana coming into one of the meetings right now.
Yeah.
They needs to go.
Now.
Right now.
Now.
All right. Now, presidents who have misused the power of the executive branch.
Oh,
Listen closely now. This is interesting, Uncle Rico. There have been many presidents who have been accused of misusing the powers of the executive branch. Some of the most notable examples include Franklin D. Roosevelt. Roosevelt was accused of abusing his power by expanding the size and scope of the federal government during the Great Depression and by packing the Supreme Court with justices who were sympathetic to his New Deal policies. All right? Richard Nixon. Nixon was accused of abusing his power by using the CIA and the FBI to spy on his political opponents and by obstructing justice in the Watergate scandal. George W. Bush. Bush was accused of abusing his power by invading Iraq without a clear justification, by using torture against suspected terrorists, and by warrantless wiretapping. These are just a few examples of presidents who have been accused of misusing the powers of the executive branch. So while we're on presidents, which presidents has done more for black people is a complex question with no easy answer. There has been many presidents who have made significant contributions to the advancements of civil rights for black Americans. And it's difficult to say definitely which one has done the most. Some of the presidents who have been most notable for the efforts to promote equality for black Americans include Abraham Stinkin' Lincoln, who issued the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed slaves in the Confederate States during the Civil War. Franklin D. Roosevelt, who created the Fair Unemployment Practices Committee, which was the first federal agency to address discrimination in unemployment. JFK, who appointed Thurgood Marshall to the Supreme Court, the first black justice. LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, who signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, two landmark pieces of legislation that outlaw discrimination of the basis of color, race, religion, sex, and national origin. And Barack Obama, now y'all been waiting on this, right? Who was the first black president of the United States, he signed the Affordable Care Act, which expanded health insurance coverage to millions of Americans, including black Americans. He also appointed more black judges to the federal courts than any previous president. You know, under Obamacare, it allowed me to get a lobotomy. Is that right? A lobotomy. Okay. All right. Now, there are just a few presidents who have made significant contributions to the advancements of civil rights for black Americans. It's important to remember that progress has been made over time, but there is still much work to be done. We must continue to fight for equality for all Americans, regardless of race, color, or creed. Uncle Rico, Montana. Which president would you choose that has done the most for black people? And it's Abraham Lincoln, Franklin D. Roosevelt, JFK, LBJ, and Obama.
I'm always voting for the black man. I don't, society gonna
Bill
quickly.
Clinton is not on here.
You say all that. Society quick to say, well, he didn't do this for us. A lot of people ain't do something. I don't care what he did. He got my vote. He could have did nothing. They ain't want him in there. The civil rights movement said he wasn't supposed to be in there, so he gonna get my vote every time.
Okay, so you pick Obama?
Yep.
Okay. Who would you pick?
I guess because of my era and the way I grew up, I always was very fond of John F. Kennedy, man.
John F. Kennedy?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I watched him get assassinated on TV, seeing all that crap as a kid. And he was just my guy, man. Then, like I said, he appointed Thurgood Marshall, the first black Supreme Court justice.
Yeah, that was big.
That in itself was huge. But I want to make this statement. Out of all the presidents that you called off who did something for the black Americans in the United States, all those decisions was based upon keeping this country together, man. Getting it from tore apart, getting ripped up. You know what I'm saying? Another civil war in essence. So I'm not saying I don't know their hearts, all of their hearts, but I'm not saying that all of the decisions was made truly, sincerely, or more so for the sake of the country. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Gerry, who you picking?
I'm picking Abraham and John F. Kennedy. They're the only two who got shot helping us.
Thank you for tuning in to the Doneson Podcast.
Oh, baby, anticipation is that time of the year. The Doneson Podcast is here. This groove moves your soul. Let's start the show.